Cora gets a new job and moves into a luxury apartment in Manhattan. Her condo has 13 floors. 5 people are living on the ground floor, and each floor has 2 more people on it compared to the previous one. Which floor calls the elevator the most? Any person who lives on a floor other than the ground floor would have to call the elevator to reach their respective floors. So, the ground floor should call the elevator way more frequently than the other floors.
Oh.
Cora meets her neighbor, Mason. He has 4 daughters, Hannah, Elle, Eve, and Anna. What pattern did he use to name them? His daughters have palindromic names. You can read them from left to right and from right to left, but they'll remain the same.
Oh.
Cora takes the elevator to the 13th floor where she lives. The elevator takes her to the desired floor. She comes out and freaks out right away. Why? Take a look at the mirror. It didn't reflect the number 13 correctly.
Okay.
4 movers show up to help Cora with her boxes, but one of them is an imposter.
Hello.
Can you guess who? The third guy carries the only box that doesn't have Cora's name on it. Also, one of his arms is in a cast. He hid it under his gloves and sleeves, but Cora cannot be tricked so easily. The next day, Cora receives 4 welcome baskets from her neighbors. One of them isn't safe. Can you guess which one? The second basket looks delicious, but take a closer look. There are bugs instead of chocolate in these cookies. Yuck! Cora wants to hire a cleaner to take care of her apartment. She interviews 3 people. Sandra says she has 20 years of experience in this field. Harry is a student who needs extra money to pay his bills and buy food. And Bianca has recently moved from her parents' farm. She needs a job as soon as possible. Who's lying? Harry, take a closer look. He's too transparent to be a real human. Ghosts don't need to pay bills and buy food. Liar.
Oh no.
There's a swimming pool on the roof of Cora's condo. She goes there and meets 3 neighbors in the shower. One of them is not from this planet. Can you guess who? The third lady is a visitor from outer space. She has 7 toes instead of 5. Also, she lacks a belly button. And it seems like the shower steam goes through her body.
Oh god.
Cora comes back home and finds out that someone stole one of her expensive paintings and replaced it with a cheap copy.
What?
How did she know? The third painting has a slightly thinner frame than the others. That's because it's a fake. Cora decides to question her neighbors. She knocks on 2 doors just next to hers. Ashley and Megan live in separate apartments just next to Cora. These 2 ladies have partners, but one of them dates 3 people at once. Can you guess who? Ashley has 3 different cakes in her fridge, so she probably had 3 different guests recently. Cora wants to find the thief who stole her painting, so she calls the police. Officers examine the crime scene and arrest 3 suspects right away. Can you tell who's guilty by just looking at this picture? The thief left footprints of sneakers on the carpet next to the paintings. Only the first suspect has the matching shoes and size.
Ah.
The next morning, Cora goes hiking in the woods, and eventually she gets lost. There are 3 routes that she can take. One has animal footprints, the second one has human footprints, and the third route is along the river. Which path is the most reliable? Cora should choose the third route. Animals might be dangerous and people are not reliable, but the river will lead her to the city or a bigger body of water with a beach. In the evening, Cora goes to the local concert hall. One of these guys is a real magician. Can you guess who? The first guy is hiding a card under his sleeve. The second one makes his card levitate with the help of teeny tiny strings. But the third magician's hat levitates on its own.
Oh.
So he's the real one. Cora is watching an opera set in ancient Egypt, so the actors are dressed in appropriate costumes. After the show, Cora goes backstage to meet them. But one of these people is not an actor.
Oh.
This person is a time traveler from the past. Can you spot the imposter? All 4 people are dressed in ancient Egyptian costumes, so we should use the method of elimination. The first guy is using a smartphone, so he's probably an actor. The second lady has a modern manicure, so let's exclude her too. The fourth lady has a sports car tattoo on her leg, so she must be from this century as well. Therefore, the third guy is the time traveler.
Ah.
Cora arrives at the condo after the opera late at night. She enters the empty lobby and suddenly hears weird sounds from the basement. Cora goes there to check and finds herself in a secret, spooky dungeon. She finds a door with a combination lock which requires a 4-letter password. There is a mirror next to the door. Someone wrote the word "live" on its surface. Cora tries to enter this word, but it doesn't work. Can you help her crack the code? The mirror is part of the clue. Cora should reflect this word, and the password is evil. Finally, Cora opens the door. She sees a secret meeting taking place in a creepy hallway. All participants are dressed in robes and masks. They catch Cora and offer her a deal. If she manages to crack their riddles, she'll become part of the club. But if not, she'll remain locked in the dungeon forever.
Ah.
Here's the riddle. My neighbor makes mistakes. I get rid of them. Who am I? Can you help Cora out? I'm an eraser. Cora nails it, and now she's invited to go into the Hall of Mirrors alone. Cora sees a bunch of fun reflections of herself in the weird mirrors, but suddenly she freaks out and screams. Why is that? One of the reflections doesn't belong to Cora, so she's not alone in this room. Cora enters the next room and gets trapped in a spooky, abandoned public shower. She needs to choose one of these 3 doors to get out. There's a bunch of hungry rats behind the first door. There's an unknown glowing substance behind the second door. It may or may not be toxic. And there's a firewall behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? Cora should choose the third door. Look around. She's in the shower, remember? She can use a bucket and water to put out the fire. Now Cora needs to crack this twisted circle maze to find the way out.
Ah.
Can you help her? Here's the correct route. Cora enters the next room and finds herself in a huge, chic dining room. There are 3 figures in robes and masks staring at her.
What?
But one of them is just a statue. Can you guess who? The first figure is breathing deeply. The second is blinking. You can see it through the mask. So the third figure must be the statue.
Oh god.
People in masks give Cora 3 envelopes. She can choose one of them and take what's inside as a gift. One of them contains a $100 million diamond necklace. Another one, a pair of wool socks. And the third one, $10,000 in cash. Each envelope is signed. The first one says, "Necklace isn't here." The second one says, "Necklace is here." And the third one says, "Necklace might be here." Can you help Cora make the right choice? She should ignore the writings and simply weigh the envelopes. The desired one should be much heavier than the others.
Oh yes.
Cora gets her necklace. The secret club members take off their robes and masks and turn on the lights. Cora recognizes her neighbors. That was just a welcoming prank. But still, something is odd here. Can you guess what? The lamp levitates.
Oh my god.
Carl and his wife Olivia had dinner. They ate the same dishes: French fries, some fish, and vegetable salad. Half an hour later, Carl felt unwell and called the ambulance. But when specialists arrived, he was already unconscious. The man was immediately taken to a hospital. Luckily, doctors had enough time to save him. When they figured out what was wrong with Carl, everyone was shocked. The man had been poisoned. But how could it happen? He and his wife ate the same dishes, but Olivia was perfectly fine. Even more surprising, the next day, the police arrested the woman for trying to poison her husband. How come? Olivia made all the dishes not salty enough and put poison in the salt shaker. Peter graduated from the police academy and began to work as a trainee detective. 1 week after the guy started his new job, he already had the first tricky case on his hands. One of his colleagues was investigating a series of crimes connected with smuggling. She was close to solving the case, but several days ago, the woman disappeared. Peter visited the last location where his colleague was spotted and found a note: 710-57735 34 5508 51 7718. Peter has 3 suspects: Bill, a manager in an oil company; Todd, a jeweler; and John, a car dealer. Who's the criminal? Peter has managed to prove he deserves his detective badge. The guy turned the message upside down and tried to read it that way. Surprisingly, the letters made rather legible words. Bill is boss. He sells oil. Something went wrong in a super-secret laboratory. There was a leak of a newly developed experimental chemical, and it made several plants and animals mutate in the blink of an eye. Scientists ended up locked in one room with the vicious monsters. One of the researchers managed to figure out how they could get out of this dire situation, but the substance they needed was in another part of the laboratory. The scientists could get there through one of 3 corridors. The first was guarded by fire-breathing crocodiles. Hey, it was an experimental laboratory after all. The second corridor was filled with meat-eating sunflowers with extra sharp teeth. And the third passage was swarming with venomous bees. Which one should the scientists choose? They should opt for the corridor with the sunflowers. Those are plants, and however scary they are, they can't move. Terry and Alice fell in love and started going out. But the woman's best friend Sarah was jealous of their relationship. Alice didn't want to lose her friendship and tried to keep the dates with her boyfriend in secret. That's why she left him coded messages with the places where they were going to meet. That day, Terry found a new note. It looked like this. At first, he was puzzled, but soon enough, he realized where he was going to see Alice. Can you figure it out? Alice told Terry to meet her at the street corner. Patrick called the police. The man seemed to be worried sick. "My wife Victoria took our dog for a walk in the afternoon. Several hours ago, our pooch returned, alone. I don't know where Vicky is." The police questioned the suspects. Mrs. Summers said she'd been watching TV all day long. "I was busy delivering the mail," said the postman. "I didn't have time to linger in this area, and I didn't see anything." And Mr. Thomas told the police he'd been working in his home office. The detective knew at once one of these people was lying. Who was it? It was the postman. His sleeve is a bit torn, and there's a dog bite on his arm. Plus, some black fur is stuck to his pants. Victoria's dog probably tried to protect the woman. 3 expensive watches have been stolen from Mr. Brown's store this year. The police can't help the poor man. He decides to hire a private detective. When Laura arrives, she immediately asks for the CCTV footage from January to December. After watching it, she tells the store owner who the thief is. What has she noticed in the video? The same guy came to the store several times, in April, August, and November. And every time, he has a cast on his arm. But no broken bone would need 8 months to heal. Joe had a friend, Randy, who never answered questions directly. Once, Joe sent Randy a message, inviting him to join their common friends in a cafe. Randy's answer was kinda weird. "Sorry, no money. Job in job." Luckily, Joe knew his friend well enough to understand what he meant. But can you figure it out? Randy meant he had no money because he was in between jobs. The next time Joe texted Randy was when he needed some advice. Despite all his quirks, his friend was very good at finding solutions to difficult situations. So Joe wrote, "My girlfriend took my professional camera without asking permission, and then she accidentally smashed it. What should I do?" The answer was bizarre, not that it was unexpected. Give, get, give, get, give, get, give, get. At first, Joe didn't think he wanted to follow this advice, but a bit later, he decided it was the best course of action. What was the advice? Forgive and forget. Dylan was an extremely popular guy in his office. Tall, handsome, funny, and friendly. But there was one thing that made certain people dislike him. The man had a new girlfriend every month. That Friday, Dylan came to work happier than he'd ever felt. He finally bought the car of his dreams. At lunchtime, he went to the parking lot to check in on his new toy. Oh no! His car was a mess, scratched and covered in paint. Dylan went pale and called security. He had 3 suspects, all of them his exes. Andrea said she didn't even know Dylan had got a new car. Catherine answered she'd been preparing a report for their boss and hadn't left her desk. And Mila told the guy she'd forgiven him long ago. Who ruined Dylan's car? It was Catherine. She had some smeared paint on her skirt, and the color is the same as the paint on the man's car. 2 maids work in a small hotel in the mountains. One day, The hotel owner finds out one of them regularly steals stuff from guests, but he doesn't know which one it is. Look at these maids cleaning the rooms. Can you help the owner understand who's guilty? The maid on the right hasn't noticed the ring under the sofa. She might not be a great cleaner, but also not a thief. As for the maid on the left, she's spotted the ring and put it in her bucket. It means she's going to take it for herself after she finishes cleaning. She's the one who steals things. One afternoon, all the money was stolen from the register of a small cafe on the beach. The police have 5 suspects. All of them claim they haven't been to the cafe in the past hour. Look at them closely and try to figure out who's the thief. It's the guy with a cocktail in his hand. He definitely bought it in the cafe. But then, why did he lie about not visiting the place? Police officer Cheryl Adams was visiting her colleagues in another town. She was walking along the river, taking pictures to send to her husband, when a man crashed into her. They both fell to the ground. After helping Cheryl to her feet, the man started to apologize. It turned out someone had stolen his wallet, and he was trying to catch the thief. "I was painting my boat, and my wallet was lying next to me. But then I got distracted, just for a moment. But when I turned back, the wallet wasn't there anymore." Cheryl understood the thief couldn't have gone far. She pulled the man to the nearby pier. There were 4 people there. After looking at them closely, the police officer knew who the thief was. Now it's your turn to figure it out. It's the man who's talking on the phone. There's some green paint on his feet. Julia came to have lunch in her favorite restaurant. She occupied a table near the window and put her bag in the seat next to her. Once the woman gave her order to the waiter, she went to the bathroom to wash her hands. But when she returned to the table, her bag was open and her wallet was missing. The waiter told her he had noticed only one man passing by her table. He was short, with a tattoo on his neck. He seemed to go out to the terrace. Julia rushed there and saw 3 people sitting at their tables. She looked at them closely and soon understood who'd taken her wallet. Who was the thief? It's the young woman on the right. You can see a wig and some men's clothing in her bag. Plus, she's wearing a turtleneck to cover her tattoo.